Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Fellowship in Essential Oils. This week we're going to dive into a really cool oil. It's peppermint. How are you, Liz?
I'm really well, but yes, it might be a cooling oil, but it's not a cool oil. I hate it.
Oh, really? I must
I
admit
do.
it wouldn't be one of my favorites, but it's definitely got a lot of uses, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, if you said to me, "What do you use? What did you use it for?" I would say nothing. What can you use it for? Everything.
Yeah, very much so. When I think of peppermint, I know it is really great for the respiratory system. I use a lot, a little trick I love is popping a drop in your hand, rubbing your hands together, deep breath in. People, get that instant kind of clearing of the sinuses. Really nice with the respiratory. I know it's renowned for gut motility, getting things moving in the gut if you're feeling a bit congested, muscle aches and pains, headaches. I've heard stories about, popping it on the soles of feet to babies and helping to bring fevers right down in the middle of the night. Hot flushes in menopause. It's kind of it's like that kid at school. We all went to a school with one kid who was just bloody good at everything, and you didn't really like him that much. And we've probably got the same relationship with peppermint, haven't we?
I don't. That's not. That isn't why I don't like it. It's like I don't like rosemary for the same reason. They're too bossy for me because
Okay.
I'm very like susceptible to stimulants. I can't have caffeine. I get drunk on like sniffing the barmaid's apron. It's just like
Mm,
somebody's punched me in the face. I don't like it at all.
yeah.
But I do have profound respect for its skills. Um, and if somebody said to me, what was it good for? I think I would start with digestion as its main skill. Mainly because obviously that's how most people use it in food. And when I say it, I mean peppermint as opposed to peppermint essential oil. Um, because of course we have mint with lamb sauce. Well, I won't say, of course, that's what we have in England. Whether we have it in around the world, I don't know. But you would always have roast lamb with mint sauce because the mint breaks down the grease and helps it to digest it. So if somebody's got dodgy digestion, it's a fantastic oil. And I have to say, it is one of the oils that I do say can be taken internally if you've got a dodgy belly, if you've got like gastroenteritis. A drop in a teaspoon of honey is really settling to the
Mm.
system. But I still have the same argument I have about all internal ingestion things. Burp it and it's vile. That's all. Just comes right back up again. I don't know why anybody would ever want to ingest essential oils, but that is a really good usage of it. If you've got like if somebody's got really bad food poisoning or gastroenteritis, that's a tremendous one. And I was taught that somebody looked at me really funny when I'd said, "Oh, I use tea tree because I'd got a dodgy belly," and they were, "Why did you do that? Why didn't you use peppermint?" I was like, "Oh yeah, because tea tree really tastes disgusting. So it is better than tea tree, I have to say." Um, for the respiratory system, you're absolutely right. It because it's pervasive, because it's got like that punch, which is why I don't like it. It's very good for breaking through congestion. Not so much on the chest, although you can, if you've got chesty cough, you can use it. But it is for the sinuses, really.
Mm.
And of course, it has that cooling aspect, which I'll talk about now because we know a lot about that cooling aspect. Um, I do want to talk about its use for fever. You're quite right that people do use it on babies for fever. And yes, it is a cooling oil, and yes, it can be used to bring down temperatures. However, this is one of my soapbox moments. I do not like it being any essential oils used for bringing down temperature because people talk about how high temperatures can cause seizures. Actually, what causes a seizure is a rapid change in temperature. So if you bring down the temperature quickly with an essential oil, which you most definitely can do, you're really taking it into a danger zone. So I would encourage people not to do that, to use just like cool flannels, or a drop of the oil in some water, soak your flannel in that, and so it's very small. Having a drop on the feet of a baby is a great idea that could really backfire in a big way. So I would encourage people not to do that. And I would say never mess with fevers anyway. It's the body trying to overcome the pathogen. So all you're doing is saying, don't do the work you were designed to do. I know better. No, your body definitely knows better. So a fever is there to kill a bug in its own right. That's what it's for. So this cooling aspect actually has a receptor in the body. Excuse me. And when I say a receptor in the body, that makes it think like, oh, well, where is it? It's in the arm. Actually, it's in the cell, in a particular cell of which there are billions around the body. And actually, it's easier to think about its opposite constituent. So the menthol one, because we're talking about menthol in the peppermint, is picked up by a receptor called TRPM8. So its opposite number, there are a few, but its most obvious one to teach with is called TRPV1. And that is the one that we talk about a lot through things like cinnamon cloves, but capsaicin. So if you eat a curry that's got chilies in, which have obviously got capsaicin, they speak to this receptor. So you tell me what happens when you eat a curry. What happens physiologically to you? Hot curry, describe the...
You kind of feel that heat permeating through your body a little bit.
Yeah, so, but also you sweat.
Yeah.
Because your body goes, I am hot, so therefore I need to sweat. It's also... there's a pain element to it as well, isn't there? And that's because these receptors in the body sense temperature. That's their job. But also they are pain receptors. So when I'm describing it, I'm sure people who have watched these videos will have heard me describe this a lot of times now, but it's really, find it easy to understand this way. So we have a wood bird, actually you can probably see on it, you know, you see the wood bird behind me, the offending article that has cursed me so many times. We've got like a spanner to open it so that I don't touch the metal, but of course I am a bit dim, as we all know, so I do touch the metal quite often and go. So these receptors run along nerves, and specifically they run through nerves that have got very wide, well, they're thick nerves is what I'm trying to say. They're thickened by a myelin sheath. They're called C fibers, and the messages go through 3 different nerves of different thicknesses, but we're going to be interested in the C fiber. So first of all, touch the metal, and you go, and you touch the metal and you move your hand. Your brain tells you to get your hand away before you even realise, oh, I've touched that metal, which is amazing when you think about it, how fast that message gets from there to there. That goes, move.
Yeah.
So that goes along a fibre which is really well insulated by myelin, so therefore the message can go through very, very quickly. No message gets lost. Then the next fibre goes, ow, you stupid cow, I can't believe you've done it again. And that is exactly the language that happens to me, but it has more 4-letter words in. And that's the middle one that's saying, have you not learnt yet? You've done that so many times. And then afterwards, and this is the nerve that fibre that we're interested in, the C fibre then has a dull throbbing ache that goes, ow, ow, ow. And the purpose of that C fibre is to remind you, be careful what you put that on. That's going to hurt. It's burnt. So it's always in the background going, remember you've hurt it, remember you've hurt it, remember you've got to take care of it. Now, what happens with people who have got long-term chronic pain conditions, and in that we would consider also fibromyalgia, because that is particularly relevant here, because they have this like skewed pressure sensor, which these sensors also manage different kinds of pressure. So where it should be a feather-like touch, it really feels like somebody's going, it's the same kind of thing. What happens is this C fibre doesn't turn off. So over time, the brain's still saying, be careful, be careful, be careful. And of course, you start thinking, I have to be careful because my back hurts, you know, and you start thinking of moderating the way you walk, the way, you know, all of those things around it. And it's this fibre. And what is happening is these pressure sensors are malfunctioning, they're dysfunctional, and the TRPV1, which is the heat sensor, and TRPM8, which is the menthol sensor in peppermint, are good ways to modulate this. So by using the cold sensor, and think about deep heat and deep freeze, that's what they're doing. They're talking to these sensors to say, wait a minute, I've got a new piece of information for you. And this is how we can switch down pain. I teach this in my pain practitioner program, and there are other elements to it. To long-term help pain conditions, you need to be able to modulate GABA, which is the calming pain transmission, which is through a different way. But in terms of the actual pain signaling that goes through this menthol, in particular, this part of the jaw is innovated with lots of TRPM sensors, cold sensors, because obviously we need to know that's ice cream or that's too cold, and these are what send problems with dental as well. You know, you get extra cold, sensitivity to cold. And one of the areas that I've had a lot of success helping people is with trigeminal neuralgia, because they have this pain down here and you can really switch it off using cold sensors. And so that is a really good way for using peppermint. So what we call this is it's AntiNociceptive. So nociceptors pick up noxious messages, and this helps to go. Now, they're not as bad as you think they are, and it calms it down. And obviously, you've got a different component of nearly to address the person's mindset, for example, that they are thinking they're always going to hurt. And there's, you know, it's a bigger thing, but the TRPM channels are really helpful places to start.
Yeah, wow. Now, normally you're the one who you know, is got your head around all the research and studies and that type of thing. But there is one about peppermint that I know relatively well. It was where they were giving groups of men very small dose of peppermint in water and getting them to drink that on a regular basis. And they found overall with athletic performance, so it was improving in the performance of oxygenation in the blood, of heart rate, respiratory rate, and blood pressure, all were improved with peppermint. So peppermint, again, really helps with that kind of, that overall athletic performance when we're feeling, I guess we need, you know, you're talking about it being a very like punchy or, you know, kind of get out there and a very forceful oil, when we do need to kind of give the body a bit of a like, let's perform. There's another example of how it has.
Yeah, and so it's can I just clarify? Somebody's talking on the phone behind me. Are you picking that up?
No, I'm not actually. No.
That's fine then. That's fine. Yeah, because it's a stimulant, right?
Yeah.
And actually, one of the things that I come up against a lot is students will contact me and say, I'm using essential oils, but it's really not working. And is there something that you can do? And one of the things that I find often is that they'll have read that peppermint's really good for concentration. And of course it is. But then they're using it late in the night because they're tired. And then they can't get to sleep. And then where are they at? They can't sleep. Then their memory is getting worse because they're asleep. So, and it is most definitely one of the best oils for concentration, but it's situationally based. So, for example, if you want to have your brain on for a driving test, for an exam, if you want to be switched on for work, it's a morning oil. You stay right away from it after 4 o'clock. It's a bit like don't use caffeine, you know, because all you're doing is stimulating the body, and it is really stimulating. And it is really good for cognition, and it is really good for memory. So all of those things, none of those things match up with sleep. You know, they're all going against that idea. So, like I say, for somebody who is, so I would say to people, if you gauge what kind of person you are before you use this oil, if you are somebody who is a sensitive person or who is an empath, who picks up, or who's got really strong intuitive antenna, the chances are you're going to go, what the, stay away from me. But then how you can use it is in what's called a homeopathic dose, which is how I do use it when I have to use it. But like I say, I can think I've got so many oils that I just go, see ya, wouldn't want to be ya. But interestingly, actually, I'll say I do collect mint plants. I've got hundreds of different varieties, so I do love plants, just the oil. The homeopathic dose is to do 1/15 of a drop. So what you do is you have a drop of carrier oil, and then you no, try that again. You go 14 drops of essential oil. No, wrong way. I can't do it.
14 drops of carrier oil.
Carrier oil. 14 drops of carrier oil. 1 drop of essential oil. Thank you. 14 drops of carrier oil. 1 drop of essential oil. Then use 1 drop of that mix. So you have the spirit of the plant, the medicine of the plant, but it's way, way switched down.
Yeah. No, I totally agree that for me, I refer to peppermint often as day mint, and then spearmint, which obviously has a much lower menthol, as in night mint. So it gives you that kind of awareness, and spearmint's great. We'll obviously tackle that at a later date on, I find it really good for that other awareness, even spiritual awareness, emotional awareness, that kind of thing. But peppermint it's a slap in the face. It's what we need when the sun is up and we need to be out, alert, functioning and physical. But again, as soon as the sun starts to set, peppermint shouldn't be touched, in my opinion, either.
Yeah, it is a tremendously good healer. But if you think as well, if you grow plants like we grow plants here, you'll know what a thug it is. It needs almost to be, well, actually, so this is quite interesting. So if you plant a peppermint in the garden, what you really need to do is to confine its roots within a pot. But it will still find its way out of the pot, and it will still do that. But also what will happen is the leaves come down and it self-propagates off fallen branches. So the branches go down and roots plant themselves, and you've got a new plant. But also, if you plant, and I've done this and learned the hard way, if you plant different species of mint together, they all change into the same species.
Wow.
Yeah, so they all morph into one species. So you can spend probably around about £150 on different species and end up with a great big mass of
the same.
Yes, you can do that. So that shows what a powerful spirit this plant has got. It can overcome so many different things. Also, if you get involved in part of the job that I have to say I don't like very much, but I do get asked to do it a lot, pest control. So
yes.
Research into insects and rodents and etc. etc. So many different animals do not like peppermint. So if you've got mice and rats, for example, they don't like peppermint at all. But bees absolutely adore it. So it's definitely got a spirit that goes, yeah, you can come, but I don't like you. And it doesn't like me, and I don't like it. Yeah.
I'd be interested, for here in Australia, ants can be a common problem, and ants will scatter as soon as peppermint gets sprayed about or pops on the counter. That kind of thing as well. How would you recommend it for rats and mice? Where would
I have
you
to
wipe
say,
down things?
my rats laugh at me in the window because we live on the railway. My house is the bridge cottage, railway bridge cottage. So they come off the railway and they go, "Oh, look at all this food for the birds! Everybody moving!" And some days it can be a bit like Beatrix Potter. And yes, we do deal with the rats not using essential oils. We're a little more lethal than that, I have to say. I don't like poison because of my owl, so that the beggars get shot. But so they kind of laugh and go, "Peppermint oil," but really. But if you wipe it down any surfaces, like if you've got like mice in the house, wipe it along the skirting boards, neat, because then it goes, it doesn't like the smell. But because they're outside, my rats are outside, there's too much fresh air. But inside, rub it along the skirting boards.
Perfect. I think that'll probably help out a few people as well. From a more energetic and an emotional point of view, I think like it's invigorating to the body, it is really good for kind of getting the chi moving through the body. So anyone who's feeling a little bit lethargic, working with it on that level. Also, I find really good for helping us just to, because of that clarity of mind that it brings, it's really good when we need to cool down the emotions as well. Anyone who's tends to, act now, think later. Anyone who's prone to being a little bit angry, feeling frustrated, needs to kind of stop and think and get a clearer perspective. That's where peppermint, a small amount inhaled and kind of just breathe, it can be really powerful in that way.
Yeah, one thing that we haven't talked about is the effect on the heart, that it will speed the pulse and it will increase the pulse and increase blood pressure. So again, I would say that is probably person related rather than, I think if it were me, I don't think it'd calm me down. But and like, it's definitely not a calming oil, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, true.
But I can see how for some people, and actually probably for men more than women, it probably does have that centering feeling of just stop for a minute, just cool for a second. I can see how that would work.
Maybe just slightly adjust what I said. Maybe it helps to take heat out of situations.
Yep, I can see how that would. Yeah,
that way.
But again, what I always say to everybody is, my medicine may not be the same as your medicine. So, for example, that TRP8 thing, TRPM8, that is physiologically proven, and it will be right across the board to everybody. But everybody's emotions are too wrapped up in not just what's happening in your physiology, but all of your psyche. So sometimes not everybody will be the same.
Yeah, very true. One thing that's probably of interest to some of our listeners and watchers, or viewers, I should say, for hot flushes, would you recommend peppermint at all?
I can see how a peppermint. Well, actually, so let's speak to that. Debbie Atterby sent me bushmint hydrosol.
Oh yes, beautiful Australian essential oil.
Yeah, well, so in the heat, when we've had it, like, we're not used to the heat here. When our houses aren't built with air conditioner or anything, and I was like, Deb, I am struggling no end. And the bushmint, in fact, if anybody's watching it, Debbie Atterby, seek her out to get bushmeat. I swear to God, it's the most beautiful thing. And your body just goes, very, very cool. But I wouldn't want to use it at night. I wouldn't want to use it for night sweats because I don't want a mint around me at night.
Yes. Yeah, true. Yeah.
And I would say hydro that rather than essential oil, personally.
Okay. Yeah, got you. For sure, definitely. Now, one thing I find really interesting is when you look at some different authors will say that it's been used in the past for cleansing and protection, different practices. That, for me, personally doesn't resonate. And I wanted to throw that at you and see if you were using it, would you use it for cleansing or protection?
So I think potentially that is like a bastardization of an old practice. So if, for example, you think about reading the Bible and you talk about how they strew herbs on the floor to purify the temple space, mint is definitely one of those.
Yeah.
And so yes, it's purification, yes, it's cleansing, but I wouldn't do it on a personal level. No, I wouldn't. But yes, for space, yes.
Now, another point about peppermint that often comes up that I'm like, I don't agree with most people. What chakra do you find peppermint would work really well with? Liz, you're my favourite. This is why we do this together. Right? I find it, if you do a quick Google search on peppermint and chakras, most people are saying the throat chakra. Now, obviously, it does help with the respiratory system, but then it's helping with the muscular system, the cardiovascular system, the digestive system. I'm not sure if they're connecting that minty flavour of like breath mint and that kind of thing. So, it's the mouth, it's communication and that type of thing. But for me, I'm definitely the third eye chakra as well. I know when you drop, pop a drop in your hands, take a deep breath in, you feel it right in that third eye chakra. It brings that clarity. It's like a slap in the face. The bright lights are on, and it gives that clarity of the mind. So we often think with the third eye chakra, people are like, oh, it's all to do with the intuition. Yeah, the intuition is part of it, but it's also to do with the intellect. The word understanding, I think, encapsulates really what the third eye chakra is all about. Understanding how the physical reality works. So bringing our spirituality from the crown chakra and going, okay, how do we apply our spiritual mission into this practical world? And Peppermint's a really good one for getting that clarity in what are we meant to be doing with our lives? It's really hard to get to a destination if we don't know how we're going to get there, if we don't have it in the GPS. But once we know where we're going, we can get there. And I find Peppermint is a great one for helping you sit there and go, okay, this is what I want to do. Now, what do I need to do? How can I be clear and precise in my action? So it's really third eye chakra for me, without a doubt.
I think that if we're not careful, we're going to dissect the spiritual part of chakra medicine off from the physical. So what we should say is that chakras are wheels of energy that permeate through the 7 layers of the etheric body and go through the physical body and out the other side, and they're almost like cones that go like that. So if we're talking about a chakra, then we have to be able to speak to the gland or the organ that it's going to go through. So we could also say, well, it's solar plexus medicine because that's for the digestive system. And also that speaks to identity and will. So do we feel stronger and clearer in who we are when we use peppermint? Yes, we do. So the solar plexus. Are we able to speak more our truth more clearly? Yes, we can. And also it is an oil that would be helpful if you had a sore throat, so I can see how people got here. But without a shadow of a doubt, if there's an organ that is connected to peppermint, it's the brain.
So then planetary wise, where would you go with peppermint?
So I spent my sleepless night thinking about this last night, and I came to so many different conclusions, I have to say. But I have decided, I'm hesitating now because I'm thinking, I still don't know. I have decided that I'm going Jupiter because one thing that I didn't talk about was it's also a really good tonic for the liver, hence why we have this digestive action. And the way that it works on the third eye chakra, it is expansive. So you would feel that in the sinuses when you've got a cold, I'm making space, but also that expansive, like, oh, I'm interested in more things, learning, concentration. So that kind of sometimes can be mercurial, but I don't think it is mercurial. I feel Jupiter. What are your thoughts?
I'm going to go a totally different planet, or even a dwarf planet. I'm going to go Pluto based on a bit of the Mentha origin story. So there is a story about Mentha, who was a little beautiful nymph who caught the eye of Pluto, and they were having a bit of a love affair on the side, I think. And then Persephone, the wife of Hades or Pluto, found out about this, wasn't too happy at all, and hunted down the nymph and stamped on it and turned her into a flat leaf plant. Now, Pluto had grown quite fond of the time he'd spent with Mentha, so he didn't want anyone just to be walking over her and to ignore her. So it is said that Pluto actually gave that mint aroma that kind of, when we stand on mint, it does release that beautiful, refreshing aroma that makes us feel like he felt when he was with, this little love affair that he was having at the time. So, when we look at the Pluto energy as well, Pluto is obviously at the far, far cold depths of our solar system. Very, very chilling, very, very cold as well. But Pluto is about getting that real clarity, it's about that transformative and that volcanic almost energy within us that brews within us and knows how to bring that transformation up. And I find working with the mint oils, I put most of the mint oils with Pluto, can be really powerful in helping us to transform, because when we have that clarity, transformation comes with much more ease.
So Pluto is to do with sexuality, and I was thinking then, I can't think of a single reason to use it for sexuality. And I was like, yes, you did. You said it yesterday in the masterclass. So we were talking about male sexual dysfunction, weren't we? And we were talking about essential oils to use if somebody had premature ejaculation or delayed ejaculation. I was saying if somebody had delayed ejaculation, sometimes because of the medication that they're using or because they're suffering from stress, then this idea of the peppermint can really jolt the energy through the body. That's the only time that I can really think of it from a sexual point of view. But I'm so glad that you said this myth, because I was like, I don't want to tell this myth because it doesn't link on to anything that I've got to say. But I have to say, this was my favourite part of writing the Melissa book. I'm beaming because I just thought this was so lovely. So when you're doing like mystery work, there are so many layers and you can perceive so many different things that you have to kind of go, right, I'm going after that thread. So I went after the insect thread for obvious reason. The Melissa are the bees. But so when I had been studying bee shamanism throughout the world, I'd come across this lovely Hindu story of the goddess Brahmari Devi, who had overcome the most powerful demon in the universe, where other gods had failed, and she did that by overcoming a curse that he'd said, I curse all two-legged and four-legged creatures. And she was like, well, what about the six-legged? So she summoned all of the six-legged creatures to overcome it. So I was like, so that's really interesting. So are there other six-legged creatures in these myths? And what I started to see was, of course, we have women who are plants, they're Melissa plants, women who are insects, women who are bees. And that happened lots of times. So whenever I saw a nymph, I was like, what else are we seeing here? So you need to concentrate, Ad, because I need you to help me with this. So I want to ask you, what is the most terrifying creature on this planet that takes more souls than any other creature?
Oh,
What's the most dangerous animal?
I would imagine a shark off the top of my head.
So primary school answer. It's a mosquito. It's a mosquito.
Ah,
So
yes,
it claims hundreds of thousands of years of souls a year through malaria and through yellow fever and through dengue fever. So if you think that those are really populated, those diseases are really populated around the Mediterranean, round Greece, right? So do you know any Latin names of mosquitoes?
No, I do not.
Oh, I would like to tell you loads, but I won't. I'll tell you one, which is Aedes aegypti. So the Egyptian Hades, Aedes aegypti.
Ah.
So Hades fell in love with Mentha. So Persephone did the funniest thing that I thought was just so clever. She turned it into a plant that repels Aedes aegypti.
There you go. Wow.
I loved it. And so if you enjoyed that, there is a whole chapter of these funny, like you can see them in the myths, all of this teaching about the different insects. And there's some really funny ones in there in the Meeting with Melissa book.
It's amazing when you go back through the ages and all the different connections that were made through the mythology and how they still are passed on to today. It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah. So poor old Hades, every time he went to go towards Mentha, because she was so repellent to mosquitoes, he was like, no, can't go there then. Fantastic.
Yep. Yeah. Now, you were saying before, that you've got a good collection. Well, you did have a good collection of mint in your garden. And of course, peppermint is the first mint essential oil that would spring to mind. Spearmint normally comes in second. For me, another couple that I've worked with, bergamot mint, which is very much more like lavender than it is really more of those. It's very low in its menthol content. And it goes by a few different names. Sometimes it's called American mint, sometimes it's called Japanese peppermint. The Latin name being Mentha, I think, Canada. Yeah, which is corn mint, exactly, as well. Any other mints that you've ever worked with?
What oils? I'm sure there's probably pennyroyal is a mint.
Okay.
A Mitcham mint is one in my stepdad's box. But like I say, because I don't like mints, no.
You haven't got a collection, no.
But yeah, pennyroyal, of course, is a whole lesson in its own right. A fascinating mint.
I must admit, I'm racking my brain at the moment. I know there's another true Japanese mint that's named Japan. The Japanese name is escaping me at the moment, but I must admit, because you can buy like choc mint as a, you know, as an actual plant, and I think there's even an orange.
Choc mint is Mitcham mint.
Ah.
Yeah, that's what that is. Yeah, chocolate mint. But also you can get like pineapple mints, ginger mints, apple mints. There are loads and loads of different mints, like plants.
But I cannot find them as essential oils. Have you experienced this one? No.
Because, well, I'm sure that if you spoke to a distiller, an artisan distiller, they could make them for you. But at some point, there's got to be like a marketplace for them, hasn't there?
Yes.
And it's a bit like lavenders. There are hundreds of lavenders on the market in you know, artisan distillers, but not really in the big companies.
No. Well, I will put a request out there. If anyone who's listening has ever seen any of these kind of unusual mint oils and knows where to get them, I've scoured the internet and can't find them, but I'm a bit of a collector of rare and unusual things. So if someone found them, let me know.
If I were going to look for them, I would look at fragrant earth. And I would also look at Positively Aromatic, which is Sandra Schuff's organic farm in Washington. And she does, I think, 47 different types of lavender. And I'm sure, and they're all organic. And I'm sure that she does different types of mints as well. So I'll give Sandra a shout. If you wanted mints, that's where I would look.
Okay. It'd be very intriguing to work with, yeah, because they are, like you said, it is such an expansive family. Yes, they all have different menthol contents and that type of thing, but energetically, you know, that they all speak very differently to me, at least anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't think we go on.
I was going to say, I can't think of anything else that I wanted to say about it, but I'm sure as soon as we stop, I'll go, oh, no.
That's right. Yeah. But
no, there is a really important thing that I want to say. A really important thing to say. You were talking about use on children. Actually, peppermint is contraindicated on children, full stop.
Okay. So, why is
that? It's kind of the same as the reason why eucalyptus is. So, because menthol in peppermint, like 1,8-cineol in eucalyptus, slows respiration. So well, Tisserand's put a guideline of age 10. I'm not sure that you need to be as rigorous as that, but you should always use it on the backs if you are going to use them. But like I say, I can't think of a reason why you would ever need to use it on a child, because there are gentler oils, and away from their face. And if you are going to use it, like for adults, maximum dilution is normal, like 3%. But if you really are going to use it on children, it's 0.25%. But as I say, it's so stimulating. I can't see why you would want to stimulate a baby unless unless you're cruel to an autistic child or something. You know, most children, you're going, could you please just bring it down a notch? You know, and that's not a peppermint thing.
Well, I guess before you were talking about how it's great for all types of pests, so rats, mice, mosquitoes, ants, and someone else's bloody child who won't shut up and go away. Maybe a bit of peppermint would be good for that. That could have come out
my mouth. I always go, I hate other people's children, I do. Yeah. So there we go.
Well, on that note, we need to breathe in our peppermint, release our anger and our fury with a bit of peppermint, and let it all go. We'll be back next week when we explore another essential oil on Fellowship in Essential Oils. And if you have any questions about peppermint or any of the other mints or any other oil, guess what? Our March Masterclass is going to be the place to ask that. Look down below and we'll have all the details and the links where you can book in for that. And wherever you are in the world, you can join us for the 2 hours of oily goodness where we'll discuss whatever you want and a few things that we want to discuss as well. Until next week, we'll catch you then. Goodbye.